And good morning to you on this Thursday morning. Got through that hump day, a pretty interesting trading day yesterday. As a matter of fact, the day started off pretty interesting. We had a little bit of pressure. It got weak, it stayed weak, and it closed weak. When you look over at the Dow, it finished down about 165 points. The NASDAQ, kind of an interesting one as well. It was kind of wavering around. It was green, it was red, it was somewhere up or down, maybe call it 10 or 20 points. Just like the Dow itself, got a little bit of a Fed pop. That eased off and actually finished back down once again, finished down about 40 points or so. Crude is a big story. Yesterday, crude's a big story today. It's been the story. We've been talking about this for a really long time. We talked about the price of oil back in November being in the mid to upper 30s. Here we are now. We're sitting today. We actually got up and over 65 momentarily. Yesterday, we were trading, crude was trading right around 63, 64 bucks, somewhere in that sort of range, with volatility still trading in the 17s. Yeah, it has been planted there for a while. So where were some of the big numbers yesterday? Well, 31 million contracts, another big day yesterday, back over that 30 million mark. And you look over and you say, well, what was really driving it? Well, the two stocks that everybody was anticipating, everybody was looking at, we already gotten some of those big numbers from the earnings the day before with Google and Microsoft and all the rest of it. Apple traded about 1.6 million contracts yesterday. Facebook, not quite as many, about 500,000 contracts, a little bit more than that yesterday. But those stocks at least started off the day running, especially in the pre-market. But we'll get into that in just a second. So communication services, that was the big thing. That was jumping yesterday. Google obviously having a great day yesterday and actually following it up with another good day today. But outside of that, technology was under some pressure. Semiconductors were under some pressure yesterday. And what really, really stood out throughout the day were the beta names in energy. So in other words, when we talk about crude and we look at some of these names, look at the performance yesterday you've got from Marathon, from Apache, APA, from Devon, all of these various names, 7% or more to the upside. So when I say beta, they are moving. They move up and down, but obviously with the price of crude, this move has been primarily an upward move, and it's really been rushing to the upside in a hurry. And as I said, 7+% moves, and that's not something totally out of the ordinary. These are stocks that really do tend to move in a really fast pace. Take a look at the XOP if you want to see sort of a conglomeration. I personally like to have the individual names as often as I can. So big earnings, what are we looking for? Well, it all started last night. Apple, boom, ching, ching. They hit it. They did everything right. You look over at Facebook, boom, ching, ching. They did it. They did absolutely everything right. Facebook holding on to the gains. Apple giving up some of those gains. Apple was up about 3%. It pushed back down. Last I looked, it was trading about flat. But if you look at that quarter, you can understand why folks out there like Katie Huberty, and today we did see a big shift from Goldman Sachs. They raised their numbers significantly, admitted that they had been wrong on Apple for a long time. But you have a revenue beat, you got an earnings beat, you got an iPhone revenue beat, you got iPad revenue beat, you got Mac revenue beat. What else? What else do you need? You got $200+ billion in cash. You got a $90 billion buyback. You raising your dividend again. Your services hit record numbers. Your wearables hit record numbers. I mean, across the board. But stock isn't quite reacting the same as what you'd expect given all of those kinds of numbers. But Apple is like that sometimes. Sometimes it does trade a little bit more like, I would almost put it, we were talking about it just before we came on, like these financials. Get those huge numbers, those record numbers, and it pops, and then all of a sudden it gives some of that back. But I think the overwhelming storyline is Apple is doing an absolutely tremendous job. Facebook's doing an absolutely unbelievable job. Year over year, Facebook earnings were only up 93%, something like that. Operating margins went from 34% to 43%. I mean, across the board, they did everything right as well. And that stock is being rewarded today and had a big jump. It was up over 7%. Last I looked, it's up about 6%. We did see early on, as the markets were running and they were sprinting early on, we watched the NASDAQ, it was up 100 plus. We look over at the Dow, it was up 100 plus. That has eased back significantly. The Dow still up somewhere close to 50. And the last I looked, the NASDAQ was up somewhere close to 20. but significantly off where we were in the pre-market and specifically where we were once we did finally open. And a lot of that having to do with some of the names that we're pulling back. So yesterday, the name that really did stand out for us, and I apologize, I'm bouncing back, but Amgen, just because of the fact it is such a monstrous name in the biotech space, and it's been something that in the Dow, when you look at a name like that and you see that kind of a sharp move to the downside, Amgen still does stand out significantly. Thinking about yesterday, I mentioned Crude trading right around 65. So what were some of the leaders early on today? Well, obviously energy, financials, and throw in communications. They were all up about 1% or more early on this morning. And at one point in time, there was not one sector in the red. Now, if there's a name that really didn't look too good today, that was eBay. And we're just pointing out some of the names because they talk about a lot of the positives. Well, what are some of the negatives? eBay down about 10% last I looked as well. We had 10 unusual option activities already in the first 30 minutes. We're 1 hour into the trading session now. We've got a few more that have sprinkled in as well, but we had 10 in the first 30 minutes. One of those very early on was Deutsche Bank, DB. Now, this is a name that's already been a great performer for us when we look back to the last unusual options we'd had out of DB. And today, with the stock trading just under 14, it was trading about 13.90. We had a buyer of 2,900 of the May 14 calls. So you're getting a little bit of time, not a lot of time, but a little bit of time, regular expiration cycle, May 14s. Those were about 46 cents, went all the way up to about 51 cents in that price range with the stock, as I mentioned, trading under 15. I got a second one for you as well. Facebook. Is that crazy or what? Now, this kind of goes back with the trend of what we have been seeing, though. If you go back just a few days ago, UPS absolutely crushed it, and that stock went higher. They went out and they bought more UPS calls to the upside, looking for even more. Well, that's sort of a similar story of what we're seeing today in Facebook. The stock screaming to the upside. Somebody's out there buying 8,000 of the May 350 calls, and those were going for $1.70 all the way up to about 246, with the stock trading just underneath 327. Now, it's an interesting trade. The stock's made. Let's just look back. Take a look at the graphs, or the charts rather, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. It wasn't too long ago this stock was trading in the 280s, 290s. Had a nice jump, a nice rally back up towards what were the highs, and now sprinted up through those highs. So keep that in mind if you're taking a look at what's going on here. But I just say this because we have seen some follow through on some of these crushing earnings on some of those stocks the day after they've reported, and we've had the opportunity to take a look. So Facebook definitely did stand out. As I said, 8,000 of those. So that's a pretty substantial number. Also, dollar amount when you're talking, let's say, an average of $2 and you've got 8,000 of those. These are May 350 calls. Folks, have a great day of trading. Knowledge is king. We got the greatest educators in the business right here at Market Rebellion. We're really proud of them. Hope you have a great day of trading. I will not be on the halftime report today. I will see you tomorrow on the halftime report. But before that, I'll see you here on the tape tomorrow morning, 9:30 Central Time. See you then.